I'm Maya Torres, and I was 17 when my world fell apart. Growing up in Seattle's Rainier Valley, life was a patchwork of dreams and disappointments. My parents, Carla and Victor, ran a small restaurant that was supposed to be our ticket to something better. Instead, it became a weight around their necks, bad loans, late bills, and a marriage that creaked under the strain. I wasn't an easy kid, I'll admit. I skipped school to scribble poems in coffee shops, argued with teachers who didn't get me, and hung out with kids who smoked too much and cared too little. My mom called me defiant. My dad just sighed and looked away. I wanted them to see me, to believe in the stories I wrote in my head, but to them, I was a problem they couldn't solve. One rainy afternoon, they sat me down at our chipped kitchen table. Mom's eyes were bright, too bright, like she was selling something. "We're going to Lisbon, Maya," she said, holding up plane tickets. "Just the three of us. A reset." Dad nodded, his hands fidgeting with a napkin. I'd heard their fights through the walls, whispers about debt, about me being too much. But those tickets felt like a lifeline. Maybe they wanted to fix us. Maybe they still loved me. Lisbon was a blur of color and sound. We wandered cobblestone streets, ate pastéis de nata under cafe awnings, and took selfies by the Tagus River. I let myself hope. Mom laughed when I mispronounced obrigada, and Dad even put his arm around me at a fado show, the music heavy with longing. For a few days, we felt like a family, not perfect, but trying. I snapped a photo of us at Belém Tower, all three of us squinting into the sun. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe we're starting over. The morning we were supposed to fly back to Seattle, everything changed. We were at the hotel, a budget place with creaky floors and a breakfast buffet that smelled like burnt coffee. Mom wore her favorite red scarf, the one she saved for special days. Dad sipped his espresso, staring at his phone like it held all the answers. "We're popping out for souvenirs," Mom said, her voice too casual. "Back in a bit." I barely looked up from my phone, texting my friend Jazz about how the trip wasn't as bad as I'd feared. An hour passed. Then 2. My text to them didn't deliver, straight to voicemail. I went to the front desk, my stomach twisting. The clerk, a guy with a bored expression, checked his computer. "The couple in room 204? They checked out this morning." My key card didn't work. The room was empty. No suitcase, no passport, not even my notebook with my poems. It was like I'd never been there. I ran outside, pacing the sidewalk, calling their phones until my battery blinked red. A street vendor asked if I was okay, but I could barely answer. The U.S. Embassy was my next stop, a gray building that smelled like paper and despair. A woman with a tight ponytail typed my name into her system, then frowned. "Your flight was canceled. You're not on their insurance or emergency contacts anymore." Her voice softened, but it didn't help. They hadn't just left me, they'd erased me. That night, I found a note in my jacket pocket, written in Mom's neat cursive. "You're 17, old enough to make it." No sorry, no explanation, just words that cut like glass. I curled up in an alley near a pastelaria, the smell of warm pastries mocking my empty stomach. I clutched my phone, staring at that Belém Tower photo. We looked happy, but it was a lie. Somewhere, a tram rattled by, and I wondered if I'd ever have a home again. For days, I survived on scraps, sleeping behind a pastelaria's dumpster where the heat from the oven vent kept me from shivering. Lisbon streets were beautiful but cruel. Tourists laughed, couples shared gelato, and I was invisible. One morning, desperate, I grabbed a custard tart from a cooling tray. A hand caught my wrist before I could run. I braced for trouble, but the woman staring at me didn't yell. Her silver hair was tied back, her apron dusted with flour. "If you're hungry, you work," she said, her voice firm but not unkind. Her name was Ana Ribeiro, and she ran the pastelaria alone. She was 70, with eyes that saw through you and hands that kneaded dough like it was a prayer. She didn't ask why I was stealing, just pointed to a sink full of dishes and handed me a sponge. I scrubbed until my fingers pruned, then mopped the floor and hauled sugar sacks that made my arms ache. That night, she gave me a blanket and a cot in the storage room. It wasn't much. Boxes of flour stacked high, the air thick with yeast, but it was safe. For the first time in days, I slept without fear. Anna didn't pry about my past, but I saw her watching me, like she was piecing together my story. I worked hard, not because I had to, but because I needed to feel like I was more than that note in my pocket. I started learning Portuguese, mimicking Anna's phrases to customers. Every night, I lay on that cot, replaying my parents' voices, their fights about money, about me. "She's a mess," Mom had said once, thinking I was asleep. "We can't keep carrying her." I'd thought it was just anger. Now I knew they meant it. Weeks turned into months. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was learning. One day, I found a cracked tablet in a dumpster behind an electronics shop. It flickered but worked, and I spent hours fixing it with borrowed tools from a kind repair guy. With free Wi-Fi from a nearby cafe, I signed up for online coding courses, staying up late under the hum of Anna's fridge. I'd always loved stories, but code felt like a new language, one I could control. That I studied Python, HTML, anything I could find. I got my GED online, whispering my scores to myself like they were secrets. One night, I read about a Portuguese tech startup in a discarded newspaper. On a whim, I invested €150 I'd saved from tips in their stock. 2 weeks later, it tripled. That moment lit something in me. Not just hope, but hunger. I wasn't just the girl my parents threw away. I could build something. That I devoured free YouTube tutorials on investing, scoured forums, and found a tattered PDF of a finance book by a guy named Buffett. I read it until the tablet screen burned my eyes. Anna caught me one night, my tablet glowing with spreadsheets. "What, you're a coder now?" she teased, but her smile was proud. I started small, helping the Pastelaria track inventory digitally, saving Anna hours. Word spread, and soon I was fixing websites for local shops, each gig adding to my savings and my confidence. By 20, I had a freelance business, nothing big, just a registered name and a PayPal account. I coded websites, optimized budgets for small businesses, and even taught other kids like me, stranded, undocumented, how to earn online. I sent anonymous donations to Seattle youth shelters, partly to give back, partly hoping my parents might hear about it and wonder. The note in my jacket still haunted me, but it also fueled me. Every client, every dollar, was proof I was more than old enough to make it. Anna noticed the changes. I bought her a new phone one Christmas, fixed her shop's leaky sink, paid her electricity bill without a word. One afternoon, she watched me help a customer with a glitchy online order and said, "You move like you belong now." I laughed, but she was right. I wasn't waiting for the world to crush me anymore. Still, late at night, I'd unfold that note, tracing Mom's handwriting. I wasn't healed, just stubborn. I wanted a life that didn't need their approval, but part of me still wanted them to see it. I kept building, taking bigger risks. Some coding projects flopped, but others landed me clients across Portugal. By 22, I had investors backing a small app I'd built for local vendors. I mentored teens at a Lisbon community center, teaching them to code, to dream. But the girl who slept behind the dumpster never left me. She showed up in quiet moments, in the way I froze when someone shouted, in the ache of wondering why I wasn't enough for my parents. One morning, Anna sat at her tiny kitchen table, sipping coffee and flipping through a stack of international newspapers a customer had left behind. She slid one across to me, her finger tapping a small ad. "This address mean anything?" she asked, her voice steady but knowing. I froze. It was my parents' house in Seattle, the one they'd bought after leaving me, their fresh start they flaunted on social media. Now it was in foreclosure, their dream crumbling like mine. Had I stared at the ad, my heart pounding. The street name, the zip code, I could still picture the mailbox, the cedar tree in the yard. Part of me wanted to let it go, to let them lose everything without me lifting a finger. But another part, the girl who'd cried in that Lisbon alley, saw a chance. Not just to win, but to take back what they'd stolen. My sense of self. I looked at Anna. "I'm going back," I said. She nodded, like she'd known all along that we planned it carefully. I'd built a business alias. MT. Consulting, clean, professional, untraceable. I booked us flights to Seattle, telling myself it was just business. But as the plane touched down, I felt that 17-year-old girl stirring, the one who'd believed in family photos and second chances. I pushed her down. This wasn't about forgiveness. It was about showing them I'd survived, no, thrived despite them. The foreclosure auction was in a parking lot outside a Seattle County office, the air thick with summer humidity. Men in khakis tapped on tablets, retirees fanned themselves with flyers, and a guy in a polo shirt kept glaring like he'd already claimed the house. Anna stood beside me, holding a bidder's card, her face calm as stone. I whispered numbers in her ear, my voice steady even as my hands shook. I'd saved enough to bid high, but not recklessly. This wasn't just a house. It was their house, their kitchen, their backyard. I wanted it. The bidding started fast. Polo's shirt raised his card, smirking like he'd already won. Anna didn't flinch, lifting ours with a flick of her wrist. The numbers climbed, my heart racing with each call. When Polo's shirt hesitated, I nodded to Anna. She raised the card one last time. The auctioneer's gavel slammed down. Sold to bidder 142. My breath caught. The house was mine that we didn't cheer or hug. Anna just lowered the card, her eyes meeting mine for a split second. I felt it then. Not triumph, but something heavier. Control. The house where they'd tried to rebuild without me, where they'd posted about their new life online, was now in my name. A week later, they got the notice. Certified mail, cold and legal. 30 days to vacate. They had no idea who'd bought it. Not yet. The meeting was set at a small real estate office in Seattle suburbs, a beige room with flickering lights. I arrived early, dressed in a navy blazer, hair tied back, sunglasses on. Not to hide, but to feel untouchable. Anna waited in the hall, her clipboard ready. My parents walked in late. Mom wore a flowy scarf, her face tight with worry. Dad clutched a folder, his shoulders hunched. They didn't recognize me at first, just nodded stiffly and sat across the table that I slid off my sunglasses. Mom's face went pale, her hand freezing midair. Dad blinked, his folder slipping. Maya? Mom whispered, like she'd seen a ghost. I didn't smile. You left me, I said, my voice low but steady. In Lisbon, with nothing but a note. Mom's eyes darted away. We thought you'd be better off. You were so hard to handle, Maya. We were drowning. Her voice cracked, but I saw the deflection, the same old script that I leaned forward. You were my parents. You don't get to drown and leave me to sink. Dad finally spoke, his voice barely audible. I didn't want to. Carla, said it was the only way. I cut him off. You didn't fight for me. You let her erase me. I slid the deed across the table. Now I own your house. Mom gasped, her hands shaking as she read the paper. Anna stepped in, her voice clipped. Keys within 30 days. You'll get the eviction timeline tomorrow. Mom's tears came, the kind she used to manipulate, but I didn't budge. You can't do this, she said. We're your family. I stood, my voice cold. You stopped being my family when you left me to survive. I walked out, Anna behind me, as Mom's sobs echoed. They tried to fight back online, posting about a vindictive daughter who stole their home. I didn't respond. I was too busy. We gutted the house, new paint, hardwood floors, no trace of their live, laugh, love decor. It became a community center for teens like me, kids with nowhere to go, no one to trust. Anna moved to Seattle, teaching baking classes every Tuesday. Her students learned to make pastéis de nata, to trust their hands, to keep going. One evening, I stood in the backyard, the air sweet with lavender and fresh bread. Inside, a girl sketched in a notebook, another laughed at a cracked phone screen. The porch light glowed, warm and steady. Anna joined me, holding tea. Still feel like you're searching for home? She asked. I looked at the windows, the life spilling out. This is home, I said. Not just for me, for all of us. To everyone who's followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through betrayal, survival, and a comeback they never saw coming. If my story hit you, hit that subscribe button and join us. Every kid in this house, every loaf of bread, every new beginning. It's a story of hunger, heart, and proving you're enough. Keep building your own truth, and I'll see you at the center.